So overview of micro budget strategy. So here's a 10,000 foot view. It's going to give us controlled testing because if we start out in budgets that's $10 a day to $30 a day for a campaign, that's it. That's all we're going to spend. It really mitigates our risk. And here's what I like to say. Every 2.5 days, I am looking if I'm going to stop it, if I'm going to cut it, pause it, stop it, or if I'm going to duplicate the campaign. Not raise the budget, just duplicate the campaign. I want to bring more shovels to the gold yard. But many times, I just talked to a friend of mine, Mark, when I showed him this strategy, and he's like, man, this is interesting. I took clients to spend $100 a day for the first 2 weeks to get some baselines. And I'm like, totally understand. With this micro budget strategy, it's like when you're digging in pay dirt, it's either going to work within 2 days or it's not. It's that simple. It's, hey, I didn't get any sales or leads in 2.5 days. Okay, turn it off. Because if you run it for another 5 days, you're going to get the same result, nothing. But if all of a sudden you start getting gold and you start seeing that, hey, I'm starting to get some leads and sales right away from these micro budgets, then we're just going to double on the micro budgets. That's it. But it's going to be very easy to know, did it work? Did it not? Yes or no? Efficient scaling. Yeah, you want to scale with this? People are like, how do you scale $20 budgets? Easy. Find an ad creative and audiences that work. Keep testing, but just double down. And I'm going to show you as we round out the training, I'll log into some client accounts. I'm just going to be very honest with you and open here. I've been spending so much time on the last 2 presentations and trainings that Nick and I have done that I haven't had a chance to really update all my client stuff in the last couple of days. But because the micro budget and the way I have it set up that I'm going to show you, it's actually really easy to manage. So actually yesterday I managed 4 very large spend accounts within maybe 15 or 20 minutes, which I'll show you, which is I just take a look, what's all running right now. Okay. Which one's been running 2.5 days? What do I need to cut or duplicate? And then when it gets into testing, it's a little bit differently, but literally if it's working, we just double down on it every single day. That's it. So why do micro budgets work? Smarter testing, low risk way to test multiple audiences and creatives, quickly identify what resonates with big spend or without big spend, right? We don't have to spend hundreds of dollars to see if the message resonates. We can literally spend 40 to 60 bucks. Meta algorithm sweet spot. We're just giving Meta what they want. Highly relevant content to a very specific audience. We're not writing a headline and say, click here, become a lead and targeting open wide targeting. That's not what Facebook's looking for. We're giving Facebook what they want. Consistent performance. Man, I have no other way to say this. Some of our client calls have gotten boring because of micro budgets. Some of you may understand and have been in this position if you have clients or you run a bunch of kind of ad spend for your own programs. Sometimes when things are working, it's amazing. When things aren't working, you're just burning money. And there's a lot of emotions there. And it's an emotional roller coaster to running these large, when you're spending $1,000 a day, $5,000 a day, 2 or 3 bad days, it hurts. But because there's so much diversification with all the campaigns that we're running, and I'll show you some easy ways to manage it. There's so much diversification. If 50 out of our 100 program campaigns just don't make sales that day, it's okay because the other 50 will just crush it for us. So it really diversifies my overall liability. So a lot of these client calls now, we're like, hey, are you happy? Yeah. Lead sales. Great. Okay. Do you have any creatives for us to test? Yeah, we'll send over some tomorrow. Okay. Then I'm just going to test them in the same way I'm going to show you here for probably less than $100. That's it. Yeah. I love the consistent performance here. I have mentioned this a couple of times, but I just want to make sure I get this out of the way, especially as I get into examples. I'm going to give you my terminology. A lot of us use the exact same words, but we all mean each other, mean something a little bit differently. And I want to really change that for you today. So terminology, top of funnel. I'm going to consider top of funnel cold market. They have never seen your brand. They know nothing about you. These are 100% strangers. Cold market, top of funnel, or we like to say tofu. Middle of funnel. I like to consider middle of funnel, typically for me and my clients, is one of 2 things. Number 1, they have not become a lead or a sale, but they have watched videos, they've engaged with their brand, they've clicked on ads, maybe they're a follower of the page, maybe they went to our website, like they've engaged with us and somehow, but they just haven't bought or became a lead yet. Okay, great. The other type of middle funnel that Nick and I like to do, and we talk a lot about this in the invisible list and the ethical propaganda, but what we like to do is we like to run ads to everyone in our middle funnel. That is sales. That is lead. That is people who engage. We run ads to everyone. Well, what's that ad specifically? If I win an award or if I'm going to an event, I want to make sure all my audience sees them, like you all. I want to make sure you see some of my content ads because you are all buyers who are here and interested in my information. Most people, they don't advertise to their buyers even a little bit of content. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is I bought from them, I joined the program, but I haven't really heard from them since. I want to keep you engaged the whole time. That's the whole deal is people who are buyers should see your content on a regular basis because if you offer good value and good customer service, they'll buy more. So top of funnel, completely cold. Middle of funnel, they've engaged with us. Maybe they have been a lead. Maybe they're not a lead. Bottom of funnel, they're a lead. They just need to buy now. Or e-commerce. They clicked on my sales page, but they didn't buy. We know that they have high interest in the product and service here at Heaven Island, but we just got to figure out a good reason for them to buy. The hottest, warmest audience, right? Now, micro budget conversion goals. The only thing we're going to talk about for the rest of the day is either sales conversion ads or lead forms or lead conversion ads. I'm not going to talk about video views. I'm not going to talk about engagement. I'm not going to talk about the dollar a day. I'm not going to talk about ethical propaganda. We are just talking about straight up conversions at this point. So again, lead conversions. That's where we're going to capture leads right on the website. A lead ad, you can capture it right on lead forms. Facebook gave us $10,000 in December to test out a bunch of their lead forms. Nick and I have some interesting testing. So if you are running lead forms, we have some good news and some bad news for you, but we can share that inside of the group. Purchase conversions. We're basically going to talk about purchase conversions, right? Sending directly to a sales page or becoming a lead and then running it through from there. All right. Let's talk about ABO versus CBO. Again, I am now at the 25,000 foot level. You are being doused with a fire hose. Some of you are following along. Some of you are like, hey, these are a lot of concepts. After the break, we're going to start going point by point, click by click on how I set this up. All right. Just explaining it first, and then we'll go in the button click step by step. ABO versus CBO. What does this mean? Automated budgeting. So Facebook used to have it where you would put all of your budgets at the ad set level. That's where your audience is. That's where your placements are. You would tell Facebook, okay, I want you to spend $50 on this audience and I want you to run this ad. That's what Facebook would do. What a lot of other ad platforms do is they have something, it's just named something differently. It's called CBO, but that means they put the budget at the campaign level. So if you have 3 different ad sets, you're going to give Facebook money at the campaign level, and Facebook's going to decide, where should I spend this money to get the best conversions? What audience, if there's 3 different ad sets with 3 different audiences, where should Facebook spend their money? So in our dollar a day strategy, we only use ABO. We force Facebook to find the right person at the right time. After the next 2 slides, I'm only going to be talking about CBO, campaign budget optimization. For micro budgets, we only use CBO, campaign budget optimization. I do not use ABO for micro budgets. So last week, I'm talking about CBO and ABO. Yeah, that's right here. This is why I'm not saying CBO is the winner. If you want to jump into our invisible list where we talk about how you can scale your ads as well too, there's a lot of manual bidding that you can do with ABO. There's lots of other tricks of the trade. But again, that's why we teach this over 6 or 8 weeks, because this is a distinction that 99% of you don't need right now. But if you're running a lot of ads, the running proper ABO can be really interesting. Okay, let's talk about budgets. Now, I want you to write this number down. I want you to take a screenshot. These are really simple, and I'm going to move to a little bit of advanced. Let's say we're running leads. It doesn't really matter where you start, but I test 1 of 3 budgets. I test the same audience, same creative, $10 a day. I test the same audience, the same creative for another campaign for $20 a day. I will set up a third campaign, same audience, same creative, and I will test $30 a day. $10, $20, and $30 for leads. I'll test 3 different campaigns, all targeting the same audience. I don't know why it works. Sometimes the $10 a day budgets get you $3 to $4 leads. Sometimes the $10 budgets get you $7 leads, but the $20 budgets get you $3 leads. Sometimes the $30 a day budget after 2.5 days I have a client with this right now, may get you leads, and I'm totally making up the number for an example. They may get you leads for $1.50. I don't know why it works that way. Sometimes I'll run $10 and it converts really well. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 30. Just test for a client. Right now, with the client that we're scaling really quickly with, I have a bunch of what I call mini micro budgets running for $10 a day for leads. I have a bunch of budgets running for 20. I have a bunch of budgets running for 30. I don't know why right now the $30 a day budget produces $4 to $5 leads. The $10 a day budget's getting $9 leads. Same audience, same creative. So now most of my budgets are like $30 a day. But I would start out, like, if you are brand new and you just want to test one campaign at one time, we'll talk about testing in a minute, just do $10 a day. But if you're intermediate, you can test a couple of different things at once. You may want to test one campaign at $10, one campaign at 20, one campaign at 30, let it run for a couple of days and see from there. The budgets work for the same way on the purchase conversion. Now, sometimes this is advanced. Sometimes bottom of funnel, people who clicked on my sales page and I want to retarget them. Sometimes I'll spend $10 a day retargeting people with a conversion ad. But usually what we found is conversion ads for sales really work best starting with 20 to $40 a day. So let's just say, for example, you are selling an e-commerce. We have a client who was just recently on or shot an episode with Shark Tank. They have this game that you play at home. And essentially they need to make sure that they sell this game for about $27. That's the most that they can pay for a sale. Okay. Well, what they were getting sales for is about $60. They really needed to cut it in. So I started testing $20 a day budgets. And when I started testing $20 a day budgets, all of a sudden we started to see $30 sales. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to test these budgets for a couple of days. $30 sales come in. That used to be $50. This is great. $30 sales come in. And then when I started testing $30 budgets, all of a sudden the sales started coming in around like $24, which is over half. So again, either I'm going to test just $20 or I'm going to test just $30 or I'm going to test just $40. This could be for e-commerce where your cost per acquisition, your cost per sale is around $50. We've used it for products that are a couple of $100. So what happens is you're spending $20 a day, but your goal cost per sale is, hey, I'm willing to spend $100 to have someone buy something. That just means that you may have a sale every 3 or 4 days inside of these micro budget campaigns. But just because you're spending $20 to $40 doesn't mean you can't sell $100, $500, or $1,000 product. It's just laser targeting people. So I start off with $20, or I could do 30, or I could do 40. So it's not like, hey, Kurt, do you have a steadfast rule of where you spend $20 or $30 or $40 a day? Nope. Just test the different budgets and see how it works overall for your conversions. That's pretty much it. Now, just to be clear, this is a little advanced, but I stay within the $20 to $40. So typically what I'm going to be doing, and I'll get more into this here in specifics in a minute, I am not raising the budgets on successful campaigns. I will duplicate successful campaigns. But sometimes what I do is if I'm getting really good sales at $40 a day, sometimes I'll bump that up to $50 a day, like a silo, right? Here's $20 campaigns, here's $30, here's $40. Does a $50 campaign still get me more conversions, or does it start to get to that point where I'm going to start to have fluctuations in my performance? So I like to test by these $10 increments. I usually don't go above, this is expert, I usually don't go above $60 a day for any type of acquisition. So if I'm running leads, I'm starting at $10, $20, or $30 a day. If I'm running purchase conversions, I'm starting at $20, $30, or $40 a day. And sometimes I'll play with an experiment after I've made leads and sales, where I may bump that budget up a little bit. For the most part, I am not scaling budgets. I'm going to be duplicating campaigns. I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay. I want to cover a couple of quick different things. I'll show people how to write some copy. So micro budget targeting suggestions, interest audience targeting. I know this is controversial, but just hear me out. Been doing this a little while. You can take my advice or not, or test it for 40 to 60 bucks. Fine. I've been finding a ton of interest inside of Meta. What I encourage you to do is to use AI to write copy, headlines, think about your offer, analyze your website, do all that stuff. But then take all of that information, take what I like to call my advertising primer, take screenshots of your landing page, or we can show you how to do this in our next upcoming class. Take screenshots of your landing page, upload your best ads, upload your best audience, upload everything, into AI and then ask AI, hey, what are some interest clusters that I can target? I'm going to give you an example here in just a second, but there's a lot more interest out there than what a lot of people say. And a lot of people are like, but Facebook says target wider. Most people don't know how to copy or have an offer to target wide. And it's a bad idea because you burn money. And the algorithm's learning off of a poor offer. The algorithm's learning off of some poor creative. And yeah, wide open targeting. I strongly suggest if you're getting started out with a strategy, I do this for all clients too. Just like a new client that we have that we're really scaling with, and they're scaling with a lot of lookalike audiences. And I'm like, look, I like your lookalike, the lookalike of lookalike audiences, but you're so far astray of who you're trying to target. No wonder no one shows up to your webinar. No wonder you get leads for $1. You think they're a good deal, but they never open another email. What my goal is to target again. I am target a plumber in California in this age range with this specific type of copy. Then we really know, do I have an audience targeting problem? Do I have a creative problem or do I have an offer problem? If you are just targeting wide openly, you're throwing without having a proven offer or creative, it gets a little dangerous in my opinion. So you're willing to burn your money if you like to, but I like to test interest targeting first. Once I know that my interest targeting is coming in and I may pay a little bit more for my leads, but I see leads coming in and I know I'm training the algorithm, then I'm going to go in there and I'll show you these button clicks after our break. Then I go into Facebook and I click on Advantage Plus. So the first thing is I turn off Advantage Plus audience and I only focus with targeted interests. Once I see those targeting interests are proven, it's really easy to duplicate the campaign. Again, I'm going to be showing you these examples. I go from a high level view before we get granular, but I will duplicate the campaign and hit the Advantage Plus button. So Facebook will say, oh, okay, I know you want to target these types of people. We'll take that in consideration as we go find the people who are really going to like your offer. I like to use Advantage Plus for audiences once I have established my baseline goals. And we're going to get into those goals in a little bit too. Lookalike audiences. I love lookalike audiences. I'll give you a short little training on lookalike audiences. I like to run lookalike audiences after I've already proven out my different types of interests. Typically, you can make a lookalike audience from 250 people. So sometimes lookalike audiences crush it. Sometimes they don't. I like to tell clients, hey, let's look at the most recent 250 transactions that you want to make a lookalike audience of. Let's just not do a lookalike out of all the leads who opted in. Let's take a look at the people who opted into your webinar, for example, showed up to the webinar and went to the sales page. We don't need to get everybody who registered. Let's just get these high active people and create lookalike audiences. So we don't train this in here. We train this in the invisible list. But what we like to end up doing is we test lots of lookalike audiences. Once we've tested and proven out our ad creative and interest, once that ad creative is working on Advantage Plus, then we're really pushing out lookalike audiences. For those of you who are here who may have been getting back into ads because you've seen some of my posts, you may be scratching your head being like, what's Advantage Plus versus a lookalike audience? Advantage Plus, basically you can put an interest targeting, or you can even upload your list of sales purchases or leads. And you tell Facebook, okay, you hit a button, says Advantage Plus. Okay, Facebook, here's a consideration of who I'm looking for. You go out and find the right person. A lookalike audience is exactly that. It's an audience that is very similar to the people who have taken a certain action. So it's just two different ways of targeting two completely different areas. Okay. And wide open targeting. I hear this all the time. A lot of people are like, Curry, you should just do wide open targeting. Cool. You can do whatever you would like. The problem is I hear a lot of people talk about wide open targeting that know how to write offers and copy. Most of the people who I know running wide open targeting, they're like, my performance is fluctuating. Some days I get good leads and sales. Some days I don't. And then I'm not really quite sure what's wrong with my offer. They stop buying. Okay, who are you targeting? Anybody? What does your ad creative say? Let's just position for anybody. Oh, do you have money like Coca-Cola where you can just burn money on your brand until Facebook figures it out? No, I want to make sure I get as many sales as I can. Like when I put $1, I want to make 2. Then why are you targeting? If you haven't made at least 100 sales that have seen your pixel, targeting a wide open audience, I don't do it. You are welcome to do whatever you would like. I've seen way too many people lose money because they know their offer and their copy all lined up and they're just like, let's go test a wide open audience. Yeah, cool. So you can go ahead and take a mop bucket to the ocean if you want to figure it out. So whatever. Here's what I like to do. I like to make my avatar in my advertising perimeter that I showed you before. And then I like to say, okay, Give me 30 different types of interests that may be interesting to this avatar for my specific offer. And it's going to print out for me, for example, like 30 completely different interests. Okay. And then what I'm going to, so here are all the different interests. There's 30 of them here. So this person is in the self-development niche. So these are people who like development enthusiasts. If I, again, copy personal development enthusiasts and put it back in the AI and say, okay, can you give me 30 specific interests of this personal development enthusiast? Now it's going to print me out a list of, like, for example, 30 different self-improvement books. 15 of the books aren't listed in targeting, but I want you to think about this for a second, but 15 authors can be targeted. If the authors are writing content that aligns with the belief system of your perfect prospect, why would we not want to target the perfect people who are in the mode, in the mindset, to click on our ads? So with the client that we have right now that we've scaled to, what are we at now? $4,000, $5,000, I think it's $5,000 a day, is they were running lookalikes and they were having a hard time scaling. But now, because I've trained the algorithm on a new ad account, I'm targeting personal development enthusiasts, right here, neuroscience and brain health enthusiasts. I am priming the algorithm so much. Our US traffic, we're getting leads for less than the cost that we were getting leads for internationally. US should be the most expensive market. It's not if you're highly relevant. That's the big thing. So best practices for audience selection, flexible audience sizes. What I love about the strategy, you can literally target, like, Ryan Dice as an interest. I think he has 100,000 people as an interest. As a conversion ad, typically couldn't target something so small. But if you want to target really specific audiences, you can absolutely do that with a $20 a day strategy. Interest-based audiences, that's where I like to grow it first, right? I'm going to use AI to give me lots of suggestions. I like to call them interest clusters. And then lookalike audiences. I'm going to use lookalikes only off of things that I'm very interested in, like people becoming a lead or a sale. Sometimes people are like, I create lookalike audiences from website visitors. Oh, you just want people who click? Yeah. Follow the interest-based targeting, grow from there, and only create lookalike audiences from proven data that you really want. All right, Nicholas, I want to take some questions, comments, distinctions. That's a lot of stuff to cover. And then I'll go into some additional training. But I just wanted to stop for a minute. I'll bring on my camera just to say hello, answer some questions, get some feedback. There we go. Oh, we got a bunch of comments coming in, which is really great.
So Scott said he's curious about the audience overlap, which we've seen affect clients' campaigns. We've seen a reduction in cost between 35% and higher by simplifying and not duplicating campaigns.
Scott, that is a really great question. So a couple of different things. I'm going to turn off my screen right here. So a couple of different thoughts with that. Okay. As long as I'm getting conversions at the right price, I don't really worry about the audience overlap. Now, if I'm spending I don't know why I always said something. If I'm spending $200 or $300 a day in a certain campaign, I'm going to be a little bit more concerned with the audience overlap, which is interesting. Was when I see the larger budgets, it almost seems sometimes that the audience overlap can really have a problem. Now, just for everyone who's listening into this, that is when you're targeting the exact same audience, and then all of a sudden you kind of start competing with yourself. I found on the micro budget strategies, I'm absolutely competing with myself. But if my cost per sale goal is still lower, or my cost per sale lead is still low, I'm just going to let it run. Now, if we're running higher budget campaigns with a whole bunch of different ad creatives and they're constantly competing with themselves and it's driving up the ad cost, totally agree. Simplifying some of the campaigns, it's like the cattle corral. If it's really open, sometimes you're competing with yourself. But I don't know, for some reason, it seems like when I really narrow this with the micro budgets, I just don't have those problems. Totally hear what you're saying, and I totally agree with you. But I don't know why. It just seems like those problems just don't really happen with the micro budgets.
Our friend Andy asked, are you using/testing any cost per result goals?
So a little bit more advanced training, good question. Sometimes what I do is I do a target goal at the lead or the sales part, like after I've already tested out everything I'm going to show you here. Sometimes I do some ABO testing with bidding and target goals, typically not for the micro budget. For the micro budget, it's like that cattle corral. I just want to give Facebook or Meta very specific details to just run with it. And then if that's working, then I can play with some of the other buttons. But for the most part, it's all manual bidding, very specific placements that are run. But yeah, really good question.
Neil's looking ahead in the future. So with CBO, are we putting $1 a day on it with one ad group, one ad?
Great question. So with the dollar a day, again, we're going to train this inside the invisible list. The dollar or the ethical propaganda, the dollar a day only works with ABO, not CBO. That's a big distinction. So the micro budget, $20 a day is only going to run CBO. Anytime I'm running $1 a day, I want to make sure Facebook is targeting the exact audience that I want with the exact ad creative that I want for $1 a day. Facebook will find the right person at the right time. If you were to, so sometimes I might have 20 different ad sets and testimonials middle of funnel, each one for $1 a day. So I'm forcing Facebook essentially to hand motion to target all 10 ad creatives to my audience. If I turned on CBO where my thumb is, Facebook's going to say, oh, okay, these are the two best creatives. I'm just going to run ads there. No, it's propaganda. I want people not to see my best propaganda. It's propaganda. I want people to see all of my ethical propaganda. So that is why we turn off CBO. I don't know, making the motion with my thumb. And it's just all ABO for the dollar a day strategy, which is a great question.
Julie wants to know, does this work with messenger ads?
Yep.
Velvet, how do we create the primer document?
Nick will show you a link here in just a little bit. You can click on it inside of the circle group, or Nick will be posting a link here in just a little bit. It's something we've been developing over the last 6 months. We've taught a lot of different AI classes. It's one of the favorite things that we teach. And I'll just be very open with you. I wasn't taught phonics in school. So me for spelling is horrible. Nick fixes so many of my spelling mistakes and English mistakes. But now with AI, as long as I ask the right questions in AI, most of that stuff's fixed.
We're going to give you a little bit of a shortcut. It's not to replace the primer, but it will help you at least move forward today.
The primer makes the whole thing happen, right? Because I'm going to put a link of the primer to make you'll see it. Great question.
It's really good. New distinctions. Thanks for breaking it down. How does this reveal? Okay, Bogdan, how does this reveal if you have an ad copy / creative or funnel / landing page or offer problem? How do you know which is the issue and which needs to be optimized?
Great question. That is, I don't know any way to say it. Like we could have an 8-hour training where I just say, hey, that's what I'm going to cover over on the invisible list. Essentially what I do is I set up something called the golden ad report. If people have taken my belt method, they know what I mean by this. Now the golden ad report, I can actually read from left to right to see, okay, because really there's 3 main levers that you can pull. This is a really good point. I actually took it out of this training because we covered this in the other training, but there's really only 3 main levers that you can pull overall with your Facebook ads. CPM, audience. I'm going to test a whole bunch of different audiences. The next thing I'm going to do is I can only test is creatives. What can I do to influence my creative? Sometimes, like I tell clients, the CPM costs just what it is. If I'm getting a 70% opt-in on my opt-in page, that's obviously working well. And then that tells me if I'm not getting conversions on the page. And there's lots of different numbers to tell if my conversions aren't working on the page. Are people clicking on the ad? Do they make it to the landing page? Do they make it from the landing page to the add to cart page? So what we end up doing, I create this thing, we train this in the invisible list as well, where I basically show people how to read from left to, is it the CPM? Is it the creative? Is it your website? What part of your funnel? And what I'm working on right now, I just did this with a client, is I'm actually programming AI so I can show people how to create a golden ad report. And I know lots of people don't like staring at numbers. So you can hit print or download to download the information, submit it into AI, and it'll tell you, oh, you have an offer problem. We have something that is that's going to be inside of the invisible list called a profit calculator. A lot of people want to know what numbers to work on next. You literally just type in the numbers and the calculator will say, oh, the biggest thing that you can influence right now is your audience. You should try to test a lookalike audience to drop your CPM and all your other numbers will work. Another training, I already have that. I use the golden ad report to figure out exactly what it is. I'm going to give you some numbers towards the end of the training that you can focus on to make sure which part of the funnel do you need to work on as well. Great question.
Some comments based upon your question, how it's going to everybody. You'll appreciate this. Reynaldo, who's been with us, I don't know,
Long time.
nine
Back
years.
Spag days. Yeah, long time.
So certainly different pacing from your other training. Very clear. So we're going up.
I try harder every day. That's my motto from Avis. That was their marketing motto. We try harder.
Mark says great info. Some of it's over my head, but I've had several aha moments, great insights and process from testing faster to fail faster and find winners. Yeah. Amy wants some confirmation. Instead of scaling a budget, you're duplicating campaigns instead, or basically asking, are you duplicating campaigns instead? So you may have 10 by $50 campaigns rather than 1 times 500.
Correct. So just to be clear, I'd probably have $20 or $30 campaigns, but yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Julie said, You affirmed what I was thinking about interest-based targeting, which is exciting. Great foundations for everyone on the same page, clearing up some things.
Spencer's here, by the way. I'm just reading through the comments. Spencer with Mindfinity. Yeah, it's good to see you, Spencer. Good to see you.
Do you always set up individual campaigns for either purchase, lead, etc., with ad budget, not CBO, or do you group them under one campaign with individual ad sets?
For what we're talking about here, I'm going to get into that a little bit more in the training, but it's all CBO. And I usually use one ad set, two ad sets, or three ad sets. We'll get into that distinction here in just a little bit.
Denise, I hope I'm saying that right. Info is good, but I need more step-by-step process. That is coming on the other
That
side.
comes up next. Yep.
All right.
That's why I hate the webinars, because people usually do webinars and it's, I'm so excited to learn this, but now I'm going to buy it, but I'll open up the course later and we'll figure it out later. Yeah, you don't have to open it up later. Like you can learn it now and start to implement it since we're all right here. But yeah, we will absolutely go with the button by button, step by step clicks here in just a couple of minutes. And then I'll log into client accounts and actually manage them while I am instructing so you can see what this looks like in real time.
Is the low budget with regards to higher cost sales? For example, average order value is $300. How is 2 days enough to see?
By early benchline metric, you'll see, are people actually clicking on the ad? Are they actually clicking over to the landing page? Sometimes you may see with a higher price product that you may get $4 or $5 landing page clicks. But then if you turn on these $20 or $30 budgets, you may say 50 or 60 cent landing page clicks. So we just start to look down the funnel. If you have a little bit higher price product, maybe you wait another day or so. But again, I'll go through those numbers to determine if you should wait it out or not.
Jeremy, I run an agency with 4 different niches that we work with. We use the same ad account. Should we create 4 different pixels for each niche?
I would need to know a little bit more if it's talking about, who was it that asked the question?
Jeremy Henderson.
Yep. So Jeremy did a bunch of BJJ stuff. Let's just say you're doing clubs and you're doing fitness. That could be in the same ad account. I think that's totally fine. Let's say you're doing BJJ clubs while you're also doing, I don't know, like an ad agency stuff. I'd probably use different pixels, right? If it's like similar, then yes. So let me give you a perfect example I can say this. So because you're BJJ, we work with a client who is a top partner with the UFC. And when they're a top partner with the UFC, they have a stem cell hospital that they get a lot of leads from, but they also have a stage 4 cancer hospital where they really help out people. 2 completely different avatars, completely different people run from the same ad account because it's basically within healthcare. But if it's 2 completely separate, if we were selling supplements versus what's going on for the stem cells, we'd probably do a different pixel. Really great question.
All right. There's still a lot of questions here. If you're testing 5 headlines, 5 short copy, 5 long 10 images, that's 1,250 combinations. Are you using dynamic ads and still using budget from $10 to $30? If testing individual ads, even at $10 a day, that's $12 to identify what works best.
We will get there. That's a really great question. I will absolutely answer that question in that training. Yes.
Reynaldo, I'm running ads for a local brick and mortar business. How can micro budgets help with local targeting when they have gotten rid of local targeting who lives in a radius?
You can still target people in a 30-mile radius, 50-mile radius, 60-mile radius. We use the AI advertising trimmer to help us. Like, for instance, a client was advertising in California and they're like, hey, we're going to work with this one real estate brokerage, but we only want to make sure that we cover very specific people in their area that could be part of their brokerage. So I used AI to tell me where the cities are inside that brokerage area to come up with the counties that I could target. Counties were easier to target than cities. I entered the counties in there and there we go. It's perfect. So if you're looking to do some local area targeting, you can absolutely do that. Just because they remove when people work here or they used to be there, I think gives a little advantage, but just still doing the geo targeting can still work really well with the strategy.
Jordan wants to know how he works with our agency. Jordan, inside a circle, there is a need help, contact us button link over in the left-hand menu. You can click there. That'll take you to our site where you can set up a call with us or send us a message or any of our emails. Just send me an email. Happy to get you information there. Reynaldo, I got to get my daughter to bed. I don't want to miss the offer. We'll post some stuff in Circle, let you all know about the other programs if you're interested in that.
Ooh, John Ritter in here talking about mind models. Got that right. We're going to talk a lot about that too.
Rochelle loves the Golden Ad Report. How would you differentiate between bottom of funnel campaign for in-person estimates, sales versus a purchase sales page?
Basically, they're called offline conversions if you're familiar with them. So basically when people come into your store and make sales, any kind of sales information you have from that person, you can upload to Facebook and they can help triangulate. Do the people see your ad and then actually come in and buy? So I would use that with some offline conversions and just upload that on a weekly basis to Facebook.
Couple more questions about the package for the trainings. We'll share a link at the end or share a link in the Circle group afterwards if you're not able to make the call.
Basically, we're setting all of it up while we're setting up the training, but we wanted to make sure we got the training done before we got the, hey, you can buy this other stuff pages. Nick's getting it set up while I'm presenting. So yeah, if you go inside, like Dieter said, hey, how can I purchase all three of the other pillars for $99? We are actually working on that right now during the presentation. That's why I present, and Nick is working on the 50 other things to make sure that this thing move it on along. We'll get that shortly.
And hey, John, your Bell Method Fast Track. Yeah, we moved to a different platform, so I will send you an update on that. Personally, one last question here. Al said, started running a Facebook ad about 3 weeks ago using leads as a target and spending $50 a day. Received the following results so far.
I saw
Okay,
that. I think the results are good. You spent $1,100 though, and I'm going to give you some other kind of testing parameters here in just a couple of minutes that I think can really help out. We're going to come back and we're going to have a 15-minute implementation session. And what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to show you, here's what we need for ad copy, creatives, images. If you have this, go get this. We'll do a 15-minute implementation of go get this information. If you don't have that, I'm going to show you a hack that I love to use using the advertising framework, but I'm going to show you how you can use it without. Doesn't work as well, but it will. And I'll show you how you can create instant headlines, instant long form posts, and some really unique images that I'll give you an example here in just a little bit.